I'm going to be making some dungeon guides, and I wanted to give you some options for early gear you can craft or items you can loot around the Exiled Lands, so you can spend more time fighting and exploring the map, and can collect legendary weapons from dungeons as early as possible. Let's get started. Since the Age of War, most enemies have a chance to drop their weapons and armor pieces when they die. You can start by looting early game enemies and use their armor to progressively tech jump through to higher gear, or daring players can immediately try to loot the highest level items. But even a little bit of damage mitigation from armor or a basic shield is going to help you against archers in NPC camps and the occasional hit from world bosses. Most armor pieces looted from your enemies, if they are wearing them, will be damaged. If the items are craftable, e.g. regular or epic items, no border and purple border, you can use a repair kit lootable from enemies and chests to fix the items before you even know the recipe, then apply an armor reduction kit, crafted in the Tinkerer's Bench, so you're not over-encumbered by heavy gear. Repairing items this way will reduce durability each time, so eventually you'll need to replace them. The Tinkerer's Bench is craftable at level 12, but you'll need to be level 26 to craft armor reduction kits, so points and expertise will be particularly important, and especially until you can make these mods. Items you loot that have a gold border are legendaries and are not repairable, and items with a yellow border are unique items, also not repairable, even with a repair kit. I try not to use my favourite rare armor or weapons until I have access to the right item mods, because damaged items cannot be modded. While in this video I'll show you how to get great items from scratch, looting instead of crafting, and the enemies can be taken on with no armor and basic weapons, you can craft an armorer's bench at level 10, along with smelter to cook iron bars and tannery to convert hide into leather. You can craft heavy padding with thick hide, harvested from large creatures such as gorillas, rhinos, bears and elephants, or collect huge amounts of padding from loot around the map, and can also get cooked leather from harvesting dragon mini-bosses in the Unnamed City if you're careful to dodge their attacks. This is great if you don't want to craft a tannery straight away. You can also craft thick hide from regular hide and twine with a tier 1 armor in a tanner's table using the recipe Stitch at level 10. The base game armor gives a great buff to your carry capacity. If you're completely new to Conan Exiles or are playing on a high ping server or returning to the game, wearing some armor will definitely help you die less until you get better gear, and the heavy version is good enough to get you through your first dungeon. This craftable heavy set has a base armor value of 400, and each piece grants wearers 15 carry capacity. If you spend points in grit, the armor value will increase, and if you craft the armor using even a tier 1 armorer thrall, you'll get a small increase in a bunch of stats visible in the armorer's bench, including armor value, carry capacity, durability, damage and health. And these boosts will increase with higher tiers of armorers. You can see how much damage is mitigated by your armor by checking out the stats page and scrolling to the defense section. You can get armorers by knocking them out, or new to the Age of Heroes, you can get crafting thralls from cages around the map by using a key obtained from the jailers guarding them, and depending on the level of NPC camp, the jailers can drop decent armor pieces too. If you want lighter armor that gives a carry capacity buff and keeps you as light as possible while you're looting, you can craft the light or medium versions of this armor or loot it from enemies such as the Lemurians here on the map and prisoners at Seppenru. The Prowlers at Seppenru drop medium carry capacity buffing armor, and the Relic Hunters at Seppenru drop their own very light armor which buffs carry capacity and agility. I'd suggest if you can take on groups of these enemies, you're ready to go straight for the higher tiers of armor anyway. Fighting the bandit leader has a chance to drop heavy armor, steel bindings for capturing thralls, and a stack of lasting feasts. More on that soon. The tier 3 fighters and archers at Seppenru have a chance to drop the heavy craftable boots and chest pieces that buff carry capacity. Many of these NPCs are surrounded by friends who will swarm you if you attack, so it's best to pick your targets carefully, like this guy watching the water. Tier 1 fighters and archers have the lowest health and will be the quickest to kill or knock out. If you want to make your life easier, throwing a purple lotus orb at the feet of neutral NPCs will knock them out peacefully and won't alert surrounding fighters. You can then unfriend them without challenge. The purple lotus orbs are craftable after completing the Thrall Taker journey. This is currently bugged on servers, but is working for me on single player. A peaceful place with mostly neutral NPCs, Seppenru is a great place to get tools and weapons safely at the very start of the game, and these items will be full durability. Just put some points in expertise to carry your items, and climb up and claim your goodies from the rooftops. Some of the chests have decorations that can be broken down into useful materials, such as palisades, which should give you shaped wood. Just place the item, hold down E and dismantle it. The best thing is these chests have a chance to contain purple lotus orbs, and I've managed to get up to 3 in one run. If you climb onto this roof, there's a chance to get desert or jungle grog in these chests, which is an agility damage buffing food. Or you can sneak into the entrance of the wine cellar dungeon here and loot these chests without Seth noticing. And when you're ready to try, Seth can drop Seth's truncheon, which will make knocking out enemies much quicker. Another way to increase your encumbrance for looting early game is by eating a lasting feast. You can get 2 hours of increased carry capacity from this meal, which is craftable at the stove, lootable from enemies, and is given as a reward for completing the survival shelter journey, which I suggest you complete at the start of the game when you run up to New River. With no points in expertise, you can wear a full set of Cimmerian steel armor if you eat a lasting feast. This buff will last for 2 hours, or until you log out or die, and the feast should last for 6 hours in your inventory until you decide to eat it. With just 1 point in expertise, you can wear the craftable heavy armor and carry the Cimmerian steel set, plus a couple of pairs of stone daggers, bedroll, and 2 stacks of weak aloe extract. Make sure to collect some aloe leaves on New River before you head up to NPC camps. I usually craft a couple of stacks and keep several stacks of leaves in my inventory to craft as needed. If you kill a bearer, they have a chance to drop a bearer pack, which will buff your carry capacity too, and will take your helmet slot. I like to keep these in my inventory with a damage reduction kit, so I can increase my carry capacity in a pinch. They can also be transmogged using the thaumaturgy bench to earrings so they don't obscure your view. Or you can use a mod like Fashionist. For some more heavy armor, Taskmasters have a chance to drop Hyperborean Slaver armor pieces, which is heavy and buffs strength weapon damage. This is a great option to get you started, but be warned. These NPCs are usually surrounded by others, and the armor isn't guaranteed to drop every time. This Taskmaster outside Sephiroth is a great target for your Purple Lotus Orb. As long as there's no tier 4 named NPC here, the Taskmaster and his 2 guards should be asleep with just 1 orb thrown at their feet. You can then kill and loot their items, or convert them all to followers in a Wheel of Pain. This armor set is craftable at level 20. The Sobek fighters in this cave in J7 are tough enemies who hit hard, have a lot of health, and it's easy to get swarmed if you run too deep into the cave, but they drop medium armor that gives a great health boost to your character if you're feeling spicy and want the challenge. You used to have to fight the boss next to the large stone crocodile deep in the cave to get the armor, but now you have a chance to collect pieces from everyone in here, apart from the crocs. If you can manage to take out these 2 guards at the entrance, you have a chance to get up to 4 pieces in 1 kill, along with Serpentman daggers, bow and arrows. You can do this every 15 minutes when they respawn, or in single player. They should reset if you run out of render range and come back. This cave is also a great place to collect puffball mushrooms using a sickle if you want to make some noxious arrows later on. The great thing about this cave is there's loads of aloe along this strip, so you can put down a bedroll, respawn and heal up if they win the fight. Okay, before we start looting, let's talk attributes. If you spend points in attributes, you can respec later using a potion of bestial memory, craftable in an alchemist bench at level 15. Some one-skull creatures have a chance to drop this when you harvest them, and there's usually one in this chest in the first pool at the entrance of the Dregs dungeon in D4. As mentioned, you'll probably want to spend at least up to the first perk in expertise. This will reduce your need to eat and drink, and slow down durability loss on your tools. It should also give you enough encumbrance to wear a full set of heavy armor and some basic weapons and a couple of stacks of weak aloe. Adding more points in expertise is a good idea though. Early game I try to spend up to 2 perks in this attribute so I can do some serious looting. Points in agility will increase your damage, slightly increase your stamina, and most importantly will help you get in, do damage, and roll away quickly. Even just spending up to the first perk can make a huge difference in your survivability. After expertise and agility, I recommend you spend at least up to the first perk in grit. This will increase your native armor by 40, and stamina pool by 20. Stamina regenerates very quickly now, but different weapon types use different amounts per swing, and you'll want to adjust the number of attacks you do to enemies so that you have enough left to roll away without incurring a penalty, and leaving yourself vulnerable to attack. There's no penalty for death in Conan Exiles, except dropping your inventory. Your death loot will be marked on the map and will last 30 minutes before despawning, so placing bedrolls regularly is important. Once you reach your death loot, your character will auto-equip your gear when you collect it. If you want to follow my usual path, you can spawn into the game, do the first journey, craft 3 sets of stone daggers, do the survival shelter journey, grab a bunch of aloe leaves and a stack of bandages in case you encounter a sandstorm, craft 2 stacks of aloe with more leaves to spare, and head up here to Spinebreaker's Flank. Kill these spore spiders near this boss without aggroing the boss. Make sure you have a hatchet for harvesting. Place a bedroll out of aggro range and take on the spider boss. Take your time circling the boss, do 1 heavy attack, roll and move out. Repeat this, aiming to get the bleed stack up to 20 and keeping it there. Make sure you don't run out of stamina. Watch out for his jump attack. If he hits you, move out of range and wait for him to do an attack before using a heal potion. Rinse and repeat. Once he's down, harvest him with the stone hatchet, get the hardened steel weapon and skeleton key, which will open 1 legendary chest. Next, go to Skittering Cavern, opposite Shellback Hollow. Use the hardened steel weapon to kill the spiders on your way into the cave to your next spider boss. Kill this spider boss the same way as the previous, but try to make sure it's daytime because it can be hard to see. Collect the Nemedian helmet, harvest him for a chance to loot a skeleton key, and loot the legendary chest behind the boss spawn. You now have a little bit of armor and a legendary weapon. You can decide to drop the hardened steel weapon or keep it, but I suggest you keep your daggers and legendary and make your way up here to Mounds of the Dead. Place a bedroll and click on the obelisk. Your Nemedian helmet has a karmic ability to repair tools and weapons in your hands when you take damage, but legendaries and unique items are still not repairable even with the Nemedian. Our first target is the Cimmerian Berserker who spawns alone in the waters around Mount of the Dead, here on the far left edge of C11. Put down a bedroll and place a box in the centre with some aloe so you can heal up before collecting death loot if you get hit. You can place duplicate armour pieces in your box, but remember to check the decay timer before leaving. This guy regularly drops 3 pieces of Cimmerian steel armour. You can kill him every time he respawns, every 15 minutes on a server, and loot his armour and star metal weapon. This guy will one-shot you if you're naked, and avoiding his attacks is harder if you're playing with any kind of latency, but he's the only enemy and the only one in the way of collecting your loot. Make sure to give him a wide berth and move in a circle to avoid the range of his attacks. His weapon collision is a lot bigger than you think, so keep this distance from him. I like to do 2 or 3 hits, depending on how much stamina I have, and move out, rinse and repeat. The full set of Cimmerian steel armour grants you a base value of 1000 and 66 damage mitigation. Each piece grants the wearer 20 health, so you get 100 added to your health bar with the full set. Now this armour is epic and you can beat the game wearing it, and it's a great set to equip on any followers until you can craft it yourself with an armourer to increase its armour value. You can come back here and knock out this guy and he'll be a great fighter to defend you as you move around the map. The next armour set is the Silent Legion armour and grants a base armour of 1100, just 100 more than the Cimmerian steel, but 2 pieces buff strength, helmet and chest, and if you want you or your thrall to do more damage with a strength weapon, this is a great one to loot early to mid-game. The leggings buff stamina, the boots carry capacity, and gloves 20 health. Each piece gives 2 bars of heat protection, making this armour great for a visit to the volcano. If you want to loot this armour, getting the Cimmerian steel first will make it much easier. These mini-bosses spawn at various places around the unnamed city and drop the Silent Legion armour, but are surrounded by NPCs who make unfriending them more difficult. The types of relic hunter treasure seekers around the mini-boss vary, and the main issue will be their weapon type. Archers are bad news if you're not armoured up at range or using a shield, but will be easier to kill if you get close to them, as they'll try to switch between range and melee weapons if you move back and forth. The worst in my experience is the orb guys. These NPCs throw demon fire orbs at players, and the attack is auto-aimed and very hard to avoid without using hard cover. If you're fighting here and get into trouble, you can jump up on this ledge to recover and use a heal. The same mini-boss and relic hunter treasure seekers spawn in the start of the wine cellar dungeon just past Seth, but running into here will be certain death for most players at the very start of the game, as you'll get swarmed by enemies. If you want to get hold of this armour at the very start of the game, put down a bedroll next to Hanuman's Grotto here at H3. Inside this cave there are imps which should be very easy to take out with stone daggers, and you can either run past them or fight them and the Imp King inside. If it's your first time in this cave, I suggest you craft a torch to make things easier to see. Head to the back and swim across the water to the back of the cave, and you'll find Valis the Loyal. This boss has a lot more HP than the mini-bosses in the Unnamed City or Wine Cellar Dungeon, 2,250 instead of 480. I found that he drops fewer pieces at a time than the Unnamed City bosses, but it'll be just one enemy to fight, and you can climb or swim to get away if you get into trouble. Just make sure to re-engage him before he heals back up. You're going to get some duplicates whichever enemy you take on, so best to place a chest near the bedroll you've put nearby. Not only can you get the Silent Legion armour from Valis, but he also drops a legendary pike, which isn't earth-shattering damage-wise for late-game enemies and dungeons, but will definitely improve your survivability early game. He also drops withered hearts each time you loot him. Click on the box in front of Valis' spawn every time you get one to get a variety of potions, and for the chance to get a gorilla pet you can place outside to help defend you and carry some items. The gorillas don't hit very hard and have such a small amount of HP, but you can revive them using down but not out. If you'd like some help with carrying your loot, you can buy 2 camels from Ulrich Master Tamer located here, outside the Den NPC camp. Each camel will cost you only 10 gold coins, and you can get coins from looting chests around the map, or from enemies you defeat. The Den has a lot of chests around the scaffolding, and you can get a lot of useful tools and coins from those. Your camels will weigh 50 pounds each, and carrying both will cause you to be over-encumbered if you're geared up. But if you have nothing in your inventory, only a couple of points in expertise will be all you need to run past the rhinos to your stable and animal taming pen, which I suggest you place nearby before you buy them. The animal taming pen is craftable at level 13 and the stable at 15. You can then have both these guys following you, and once you craft a saddler's workbench at level 20, you can use the one you place in the stable as a mount. The camel fighter variant has a huge amount of carry slots, and the mount has fewer slots than the fighter but more than a horse, and will make traversing the map a lot quicker. I love using these throughout the game, and they make very useful meat shields in the first dungeon we'll tackle in this series. There are a lot of legendary armor pieces you can get later in the game, which I'll be covering in an upcoming video, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. Along with Skittering Cavern, you can run into this cave in 7F, and fight your way past or jump over these spiders to get to this legendary chest next to this demon spider boss. I suggest if you're not planning to fight this guy, you bring a follower or mount with you in case the weapon you collect is heavy. I was able to run all the way in, collect the weapon and back out without any armor and 0 attributes, but you'll want to manage your stamina and dodge any projectiles. And once you've obtained a skeleton key from a world boss to unlock the chest, you'll have some points. Thanks for watching to the end of the video. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe, and let me know what you'd like to see a guide about next. Keep an eye out for my upcoming dungeon series. You can catch me live streaming Conan Exiles and a host of other survival games here and on my Twitch channel. Make sure to follow me there too. I want to say a big thank you to our channel members for their continued support. If you'd like to become a member, hit the join button under this video. See you soon.